to manifest on Earth. So you would have a disembodied or a disincarnate intelligence, a fairy or a soul, a ghost or someone, seizing upon a ball lightning or some other phenomenon and inhabiting it to make its presence known or to convey a message of some sort. That explanation has been propounded, for hundreds of years.
Okay.
And I like that because that's where the metaphysical and the scientific seem to kind of, have common ground. It's not dispelling anybody's theory. It's taking the evidence that we have and it's taking people's gut instincts about what they're experiencing and what they're feeling when they have these experiences, and it's kind of bringing that together, and I think in a fairly sane way,
Well, and Cindy, can you tell us, after you experienced this ball of light and you felt compelled to pose for a picture because that just seemed the logical thing to do, after that, what happened to you? What did you feel, sense, understand, be aware of? How did you interpret that event and carry it with you?
The night that the big light came at us, I have a very vague memory of a period of time after that. So it would be hard, at some point, and I don't know how long, and I can recount the whole night. I can tell you the colors, I can tell you what we discussed, I can tell you everything, except there is a period of time that's very vague. And I remember being very sad. And but that's a different situation, I think, than just going and experiencing life. Typically, I would be very excited, and I would be very happy, and I would feel that I had been blessed in some way by seeing those lights. I've heard stories of people being chased. Well, I didn't run. If I had, would I have been chased? I don't know. I really loved seeing them. I loved seeing the lights. And it's a blessing to be able to do that.
Can you describe, were there different colors, amoebic shapes, were there different tones? Did you ever hear, can you give us some descriptions of the physical?
No, I never heard anything.
Okay.
The lights are different, all different types of lights happen. There was a night that I could see, you can almost see Marion from Weissman's View looking up the gorge, and I could see a big light up here, as far down as I could see, and it just went zooming past us.
Was it blue, yellow?
It was a white light.
Just a white light.
Okay. And it just went zoom right on by. Sometimes when you see lights, you'll see a flash of a blue or a flash of a red or a flash of a yellow. Typically, I see them in white. Maybe a little yellow, but typically mine are white. The blues are a little harder to see in the dark.
Oh, and that might just be where people may not see them simply because of the color against a darker background.
Yeah.
Do they appear in the daytime? I mean, are they bright enough to be seen in the daytime? Has that been?
I haven't heard any accounts, but like I said, I think sometimes they may be manifesting in the daytime, but because of their nature, we may not be able to see them at night.
Okay, yeah. So they're not like a street light where it would, even in the daytime you could tell that it was on. So far, we don't see that yet. Okay. Any other just about the impact that you would feel from having seen? Micha, if you could tell us what did you feel, and then from that, what happened next to you personally?
I can tell you this. Now, in 2000, when that film that we saw earlier was made, I wasn't present that night. But now Joshua P. Warren, Brian Irish, I believe John Anderson, Casey Fox, and Josh's girlfriend Lauren were present that evening. Casey, always been a healthy guy. He came back from that experience that night and had a seizure, a strange seizure in Josh's living room. Josh's vehicles the next day that they had taken down to the lights when they filmed that, they were malfunctioning. The horns were blaring, and he woke up to that, went out there to turn the horns off, find out what was wrong, got 10 feet away from the car. They stopped themselves. That was pretty strange. A lot of people experience these kinds of things. Personally, I've been to probably to the ridge or camping there 9 times with the intent of going to find the lights or to see them, And one time I did see a light, and I would say it was an amber orange. I'll tell you what it looked like. It looked like one of the kind of amber orange street lights that you see, that line the highways down. That same color of orange. And this thing was traveling parallel to the road. Now, I won't discount the idea, like Chris and I talked about earlier, not for the viewers, driving down here this evening, about, the possibility of maybe a strange, bizarre atmospheric condition that allows for a reflection from the road below. But But I see this thing, and this light's passing, above the road and everything, and coming up the mountain, and it just kind of blinks out completely. And I thought it was a plane up until that point. And so I left personally feeling very perplexed. I'm thinking, even if that was an illusion, gosh, how strange. And why don't you see stuff like that other places? Why at Brown Mountain, if they are illusions, or if they're, electrical manifestations, or if they're ghosts, why so much of it right there? And I'm always left feeling like I want to go back, and experience more. It just really drives me personally.
To find the more of the mystery.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Chris, do you know of stories of people in your research who have been impacted, and what those impacts were from just having either seen the lights or been close enough to have had a physical impact as well as obviously a visual?
Yeah, reported by Ralph Layell of some gentlemen who built a tower, an observation tower. We were talking earlier this evening in Morganton with David Mull, whom we unfortunately left behind, and David said that he remembers the tower was 50 feet tall, and that the men went up, there were 3 of them, went up to the top of it, and that one of them was actually run into by one of the lights, and it scorched him. Ooh. And that when the rest of the men came down, they were all felt dizzy and disoriented and confused.
Wow. Scorched as in clothing and or skin, like he was actually
burnt.
Burnt?
Yeah.
Wow.
Slightly burnt.
Wow. Not a sunburn, but like a real, like, campfire burn or a...
Yes, yeah.
Wow.
We've seen that on trees up there around Brown Mountain, actually, and then down in the valley, the Linville Gorge, I've found scorch marks on trees and things like that. Not often, of course, but, I think that there's definitely a degree of that I've witnessed myself that might back up Mr. Layell's story there.
Now, has there been any research as to communication? If the intelligence is there, even from a spiritual, either making a place for them, creating a space, asking for a blessing, has there been any research or stories about that, but people have actually communicated with these lights, or is it kind of more just observation?
It tends to be more observation from what I've heard. There was a gentleman named Dr. David Hackett with the, he actually worked at the Oak Ridge National Laboratory in Oak Ridge, Tennessee, and he was also, an expert on this kind of phenomena, and he believed that it was plasma as well, but he had tried everything. See, it was really interesting with David Hackett because he was not only very technical in his background as an engineer, okay, but he also had, shamanistic beliefs. He was of Native American descent, and he said that, if I recall correctly, I interviewed him on Brown Mountain about 2 summers ago, and he had said that they had taken, flashlights on every occasion that they, had an opportunity and tried to communicate, try and, relay messages back and forth from that nature. But I don't think that there's been any kind of ongoing research that I know of, but maybe there should be. That's definitely, another pathway we could explore, I think.
Well, and even if if they have a particular way of moving that would save gasoline, even at a practical, a spiritual sense, but at a very practical standpoint, if we were able to know that formula, and if we were able to use it to, generate power that's clean, what a benefit that would be. And if it just took, a few more years of our research or a few more people to say this is worth discovering, that we've got a chance to do that. That this is from the festival, a great place to start. Everyone, gets the basics down, and then, where does this go from here? But any other that you know of communicating or even in other countries, are there any? Because I know with the crop circles, they've actually also filmed a light forming, and then what was left underneath was not a scorch mark, but a geometric pattern. But they also were able to catch the lights on film, and their balls were so dense that they had a cord that you couldn't see through, and then the outer light you could see through. And so they appear to be communicating to us, but as of yet, we hadn't had people, communicating with them.
Ralph Layell is the only one I know who claims to have had tete-a-tete conversations with the lights, and who was welcomed by them to their home planet, and so on. He's the only one I know of.
And from here, obviously people are hopefully going to be able to attend the